Okay, hello. I'm going to give you some tips about spinouts. I'm assuming you already know what spinout is. This is a spinout. It's comprised of a couple of pieces. The first piece is being in the manual state. The second piece is going into some sort of spinnable manual extension, like a pogo or a truck stand or a Casper or switchfoot pogo, whatever. The next part is doing the spin, which requires two taps of L2 or KP7 or two taps of R2 or KP9. And then once you're in that spinnable state, you ollie, and then you can do extra things like spinning in the air or doing a trick that adds extra spin, like a pressure flip or something. So you can get quite a lot of spin. But anyway, the important part of the spin out is going into the spinnable manual extension and double tapping the direction that you want to spin. Because you see some people that are doing it as like 4 button presses. They're doing the 2 button presses for the manual extension and then the 2 button presses for the spin. So their spin outs kind of look like this. It's like, well, I got negative points there. I don't think I've ever done that when I've tried. Like I've never been able to do that. But anyway, they're doing the spin outs like with like 4 button presses. But you shouldn't be doing that. That's just not efficient. You can do it as 2 taps instead. Uh, if you just tap the direction that you want to spin at the same time as you're tapping the inputs for the spinnable manual extension. Ugh, that's a mouthful. One thing you're going to notice when you start doing this is that you're going to get locked into pressure flips, like just all the time. Like even when you don't intend to, you're just going to get locked into all these pressure flips. One tip would be don't double tap anything if you're doing a left spin out like really quickly, but you can double tap if it's diagonal. If you want to double tap, do a diagonal trick because it's impossible to do a pressure flip diagonally. So you can just like keep doing the spinouts and double tapping to the left, and you're not gonna accidentally do a pressure flip and like bail. Now you might be thinking, okay, that works great when I'm doing spinouts to the left, but if you try and spin out to the right, it just does not work. You're gonna be so frustrated like trying to do the same thing. You do the 2 taps, but like if you hit R2 before you've gone into that manual extension, then it's just like the whole thing's fucked. And it's just going to do the pivot. So you might be thinking, oh, I have to do the like slow way. I have to do 4 presses instead of 2. But you can kind of cheat a little bit, and you can use a special manual. So if I go into like a hang 10 manual, no matter how many times I spam the R2 button, it's not going to do a pivot. But the nice thing is you can go into like pogos and stuff. So if you do a hang 10 manual and you do like 2 taps, you can do a spin out to the right, no problem. It's not going to give you that stupid pivot problem because the pivot's not possible. You can't do it. It's just never going to happen. So if you use the special manual, you can do right spinouts like as quickly as you do the left spinouts, which is nice. And you'll notice if you ollie quick enough, you won't even see what like manual you're doing. You won't even see if it's a special manual or if it's a normal manual, so it'll kind of confuse people, or it'll subvert people's expectations because they're expecting you to land and do this or something. That does not work with every special manual. So here's a list of special manuals in the game in Thug Pro as of 2021 February. Why did I say that backwards? I don't know. There's 3 categories of special manuals. These are the good ones. These ones you can do spinnable extensions like pogos and truck stands, but you can't do pivots, which means like no matter how many times you spam R2, it's not going to do a pivot, which means you can do the 2 taps and you can do a spin out to the right with all of these special manuals, which is sick. These ones are kind of useful because you can do left spin outs, but if you try and spin out to the right, like you're going to accidentally do a pivot because you can do pivots from all of these ones, which kind of sucks. You can still spin out to the right if you do the 4 tap method instead of 2, but it's a little bit slower, so it's not as convenient. And then these 2, you can't even like do any spin outs. You just can't do anything from Casper handstand or Pogo handstand. Just one thing to pay attention to is that I'm doing all of the inputs for the manual and the spinnable manual extension and the spin before I'm even landing, and then the only thing I'm doing after I land is releasing the ollie button, which is already like fully charged. one last thing. This might only apply to me because my pressure flips are on hold and release. But you can do pressure flip spinouts to the right. If you hold pressure and then you go into a special manual. Oh man. And then you release pressure before like you finish getting into the special manual. Then it'll kind of just get locked on pressure, and then you can do a flip, and it'll do the pressure flip. You can abuse that by going to a pressure, releasing it, doing a spin out, oops, and doing a pressure flip, so you can get extra spins that way. So if you get quick at that, you can do like fast pressure spin outs to the right, which is kind of cool. So yeah, you can just keep doing spin outs, and you can get quick at them. Oops. Oh man, I think I think I've said everything. I don't know. I've probably forgotten a whole bunch of stuff.